One of my favorite things about this system is just how easy it is to operate and clean. Older styles of airbrush machines require a lot of cleaning and maintenance. Think acrylic paint. Acrylic paint is a type of paint that dries in the air. Gel is a pigment that doesn't dry in the air and only cures in LED and UV light. Theoretically, if I were to leave gel inside the reservoir cup or anywhere, it wouldn't exactly dry unless I expose it to LED light. Whereas if I use the same color in an acrylic paint, in about 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 1 minute, 3 minutes, depending on how much acrylic paint was put inside, it would still dry no matter what. Now that creates clogging issues because once the pigment dries inside the reservoir cup or inside the needle or inside the nozzle, it's going to block the flow of air and the pigment, and that will cause splattering or bubbling or the pigment not spraying out correctly. With the gel, you don't get that issue because it doesn't dry in the air unless you expose it to LED UV light, which you shouldn't. That brings me back to my favorite part of the air gel machine. You don't ever have to do a deep clean unless you face a clog. If you maintain your airbrush gun properly after every use, you really never have to do a full deep clean. Only once in a blue moon when something kind of goes awry and there really is a clog. Now, older styles of airbrush guns, after every single use or even after a color change, you have to take apart the whole machine, every part, clean it thoroughly, and put it back together in order to go on to the next step, because the acrylic paint would dry so fast that you had to do that in order for it to not have issues with the next color. With our air gel gun, you don't have to do that. If you're going to change colors, let's just say from a black pigment to a white pigment, you're going to want to properly flush out your gun to make sure that no black pigment gets sprayed out when you're trying to do the white. So all you have to do is to take some acetone, pour it into your reservoir cup, take an old brush that you don't need anymore, swirl it around inside the reservoir cup to properly clean it. Then also take the brush and clean the front tip of your nozzle. Next, you want to turn on your machine onto the first setting is fine. And then press down on the trigger and spray out the remaining contents. You can either do this inside a trash can or on a piece of paper towel. And as you're spraying out the remaining contents, you want to pull back and forth on the trigger like this. It kind of scrubs the needle a bit to get any remaining pigments or gel off of it. Do that a couple times, and all you have to do is just dump out the remaining contents of it. You don't really need to spray out the remaining acetone because that just aerosols it. It's really not necessary. If you're going from a darker color to a lighter color, you can do that a second time to just check and make sure that there's no darker pigment that's washing out. Once you've done that, you're pretty much good to go. Older styles of airbrush guns and machines, if you were to do that the second time you went to go use it, there probably would be a clog because somewhere the pigment inside would have gotten somewhere on the needle and it would have dried while you went to go take a break or went to go do something else. And by the time you come back, it's already dried and now you need to fully strip the gun to clean it. Even if you're going to leave your workstation for just 1 minute or 30 seconds, I recommend always, as a rule of thumb, always just dump some acetone in there, swirl it with a brush, clean out the front of the nozzle, and then go ahead and go do other things. Always better safe than sorry, because stripping your gun and cleaning it is quite labor intensive. We're going to show you how to do that here in this video in case you ever have a clog or ever have any issues where the gel is not spraying out correctly. I highly encourage everybody who buy the system to also purchase a maintenance kit. So the Aer Gel maintenance kit has all the tools that you'll need to really properly clean and maintain your machine. It comes with a microfiber cloths to clean your machine. The gun itself is stainless steel, so it shouldn't rust. Inside the kit, you'll find a couple of brushes that you can use to clean the inside nozzle pieces and inside the body, and also you'll find a yellow blowback cup. Certain airbrush machines on the outer rings here on the outer side of the nozzle, it will be solid. So when it's solid, all you really have to do is kind of plug up the front of the air gel of the airbrush machine. The reason why we designed the outside of our nozzle in this way is for the air to better flow out, and it actually gives you a better and more even spray. When there's holes on the side of it, you can't really do the traditional way of plugging up the front, and that will kind of blow back any acetone or anything that you have to wash it out. So inside the maintenance kit, we have a blowback cup that completely seals the nozzle. This is what we call the blowback cleaning method, where you'll pour some acetone in there and you'll plug up the front completely, turn on the machine, and then when you press down the trigger and pull back, you'll notice that there's bubbling inside the cup. That's because we've completely blocked the flow of the air from the front, and so the air has nowhere to go but to blow back into the body of the gun. That washes out any pigments that are stuck in the front nozzle and blows it back out towards the into the reservoir cup, and at that time you can then dump out that remaining pigment, and that effectively cleans your airbrush gun. Now with the Aer Gel system, you can do a couple designs on a couple fingers, clean it in about 5 to 10 seconds, put it aside and move on to something else without it taking up too much of your time to have to clean it and maintain it and do all of those other things that you had to do with the old system just to do one quick thing.